Aldana mentioned, I'm Stacey. I handle technology for VTDigger. We have had membership in some form or another since we started the business in 2009. We spent the past 4 or 5 years really honing in on it. And by the time 2019 rolled around, we pretty much had it down to a science. Is my screen share working properly? Can you see the cute monkey?
You're great, Stacey.
Great, thanks. Over the past year, VTDigger has reached between 500,000 and 1 million readers every month in a state with a population just over 600,000. So when the pandemic really began in earnest early last year, we saw a massive increase in readership, and we wanted to be able to capture that. This is what our membership looked like in 2019. We had 2 major drives. One in the spring would run sometime in March or April, and a more dedicated fund at the end of the year that would run for 6 or 8 weeks with some little isolated sprints in the interim. The spring drive is the first we run every year. We really focus on it. We start planning it early in the year. We set a dollar goal and want to make sure that that it meets, the budget goal that we had set in the previous year. So we work hard to really establish that goal based on fact, and we meet that goal. We've always met it. We set a cash goal. We succeed based on value prop messages largely. So we want to let readers know where the impact was. We discuss and kind of resurrect some stories. We'll do some interviews with reporters and have them talk about it. We do a series of email blasts concerted with website posts and CTAs all over the website. We also have some intros in our podcast products. We make sure that that our daily email newsletter mentions it. We make sure that the messaging is consistent and everywhere, and really based on value and messaging in line with our organizational mission. We also established that specific dollar goal, as I mentioned earlier, which we do so that we can count it down, and we do so that we can be transparent. We want our readers to know exactly how much money that we've budgeted and how much we need to raise. It also allows us to add some urgency as we tell our readers throughout the course of the campaign how much is left to go. And lastly, we offer some benefits to members that are quite popular among our members. Vermont is a very small place with a lot of tiny communities. So seeing someone else walk around with a trucker cap or a bumper sticker goes far with our readers. So that all looked great in 2019. Then we started to plan for spring 2020, where things didn't look so great. We couldn't accurately set that fundraising dollar goal as the economic situation was unfolding rapidly. Our entire business team works together to establish that goal. The membership team in 2020 included Florencio Terra, our membership coordinator, Libby Patterson, our community engagement director, and Galloway, our executive director, and me. So working together, we couldn't ask people to give us a specific amount of money because we weren't sure anybody had it. The benefits also seemed sketchy all of a sudden. We couldn't trust that manufacturers or fulfillment centers would be operating. We didn't know that the US mail would deliver. We didn't know that COVID couldn't be transmitted over surfaces or in the mail. So it didn't make sense for us to send stuff all over the place. And ethically, nothing was working, and we didn't want to clog the supply chain with hats and bumper stickers. And the messaging was also a problem. While we were doing tons of reporting around COVID, we couldn't talk about the value because that story was still rapidly unfolding. We also really didn't want to confuse our readers or make them think that we would stop reporting on COVID if we didn't meet our goal. So none of that was working. Everything we had learned was chucked out the window, and we had to rethink it. So here's what we did. We changed our goal from a dollar goal to a number goal. We wanted to reach 3,000 members. At Digger, we consider a member anybody who has given in any amount over the past 365 days. And on our donation page, we allow for any donation amount to be made, but we had set a default at $15 a month. We changed that in early 2020 to $5 a month in the hopes that we could get more people in at the lower level and then hopefully talk to them later on down the road when things panned out. We really felt that we could get 3,000 people to contribute at any level, and that would allow us to meet somewhere near the dollar goal that we needed to meet our operating budget. Establishing those relationships was the most important thing. When thinking about the benefit, as I mentioned, we didn't want to send stuff in the mail. And we did want to be able to continue to support the small businesses that we used when producing materials in the past. We partnered with a local glove manufacturer who had themselves pivoted. They began making cloth masks at the start of the pandemic. So we worked with them to produce masks that we would donate to hospitals. And our benefit became, for every donation that we received from a member, we would donate one mask, courtesy of Vermont Glove, to a local hospital. Our goal then, and our message, was that we wanted to donate 3,000 masks to local hospitals from 3,000 members within 30 days. We wanted to keep the campaign period short so that we could get it done and get out of our way and continue doing the work. As I mentioned, we had a lot to do, and this allowed us to keep our message focused, keep a sense of urgency around it, keep it simple, and just get the masks raised, which was a real need in our community. Our original plan was to complete the campaign, raise the funds for the masks, and deliver them after 30 days. But early feedback from readers expressed some concern. They wanted to make sure that we were getting the masks out ASAP. And we agreed with this. So we listened, and we began delivering them in batches as quickly as we raised the money and as quickly as the manufacturer could produce them. We then turned this around into subsequent member appeals, which allowed us to continue to our tradition of counting down how much we have left to raise, but counting down in terms of in a volume of masks and people and not money. This really inspired people and gave a sense of transparency and urgency to what we were doing. The other thing that happened throughout this campaign was increased need that came in. So when we started, we called the list of all the hospitals in the area, offering to partner up and asking who needed masks. As you might imagine, hospitals were quite busy in early April 2020, so we didn't hear back from everybody, but we did hear back from some. We developed that short list. And over the course of the campaign, as other hospitals heard what we were doing, they called us asking to be added to the list. There was a shortage everywhere, as I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you, but it really allowed us to add that air of legitimacy, urgency, and community, most importantly. We did see over the course of the campaign that as we were adding hospitals, we would get more donations from the regions that those hospitals were in, from those communities. Thank you letters and photos began rolling in from hospitals, which we also put back to use. We would take these thank you letters from hospitals and these photos of hospital workers and patients wearing the masks, and we would turn those into future appeals to help us close the gap and get to the end of our campaign. And the results, our community delivered. People really felt a sense of belonging and of participation in a way that they didn't in the past. We managed to raise a total of 3,050 donations for $291,000. When we were toying with the monetary budget goal in the early part of 2020, we were coming up with a goal around $250,000. So we did manage to make the goal that we had anticipated, and it was replicable. Our end of year annual fund drive last year used a lot of the same thinking. We partnered with the Vermont Food Bank and donated meals to families in need. We did a future campaign in the spring of this year where we partnered with a literary organization and gave books to children in need in the spring. And a few key takeaways. We had to really simplify the message with this one. In the past, as I'd mentioned, we would do a long pronounced campaign where we would have several different appeals and types of appeal to try and draw the attention of our various demographics. But we wanted to keep this one simple and consistent and keep out of our own way so that we could do the more important work of reporting. we wanted to share our progress. On the last day of our spring campaign, we were short by about 450 members. We sent one blast to our entire list of 46,000, which allowed us to close that gap within the business day. And lastly, we wanted to go beyond our base. Nearly 40% of our spring 2020 members came from out-of-state donors. That's up from an average of 8 to 10%. There were many second homeowners, family of Vermonters, and others who were interested in the coverage that just really stepped up during that time. That is what we did that was successful. We've spent the past year trying to figure out where we take it from here. Given the unpredictability still facing us, we would like to continue to solicit year-round so that we can include partners where we need, and we can focus on our own work during other times. We've built some technology funded by the Google News Initiative's Innovation Challenge Grant that allows us to better target user segments. So all of those who came through the door at $5 a month last spring, we can hit them and try to get them to up their donation to 10 or 15. We can better target appeals to that new out-of-state base with messages that resonate with them. We really hope that this allows us to grow our existing base and prevent the churn that we might see if and when, here's hoping, things ever slow down and get calm. And we also want to make sure that we are that we're continuing to draw new members. As our readership continues to grow, we want to be able to speak to them in new ways. So we want to be able to speak to them while taking our existing members and acknowledging them and not hitting them for membership in the same very basic way. So that's what we did in a nutshell. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.